dog is losing it. I brought him to the office today and he is like being very vocal.
I love it.
I love your organized color-coded bookshelves. They're like
Thank you. It's
so
a
great.
virtual screen, but those are my real bookshelves. So,
No
uh,
way. Oh, so you uploaded a picture. Got it.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
got it. Got it. No, no. Well, I am so grateful to have you on. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Okay, and I'm admitting multiple people in right now. Meg, will you, for those of them that may not know you, will you just give them a little bit of background on your experience in real estate?
Yeah. So I got into real estate in 2015, 2016. I practiced law as prior to getting into real estate for about 7.5 years. And I just kind of wanted to get out of a 10 by 10 box reviewing contracts all day. And now I'm sitting in an 8 by 7 box talking about contracts all day. But the last 2 years I was in law, I worked for a company called Microevents. They did the Warrior Dash races all over the country, and they also did a big music festival that still exists called Firefly Music Festival. So I was reviewing contracts for everything from the Foo Fighters to like porta potties. So it sounded a lot more glamorous than it actually was. But I realized that I loved like marketing and strategy, and I at the time wished I had gotten my MBA in marketing rather than like gone to law school. But I got into real estate thinking like I can put all this passion around marketing to work for myself. And so kind of had an events background, I started at a different company, switched to KW in 2018, and I was doing about 24 deals a year when I got to Keller Williams. And kind of, you know, like I could go into the whole story of not having my finances in order because that sort of lends into this, but there's a whole journey with KW that the systems and models have taught me a ton that
Yeah.
has like vastly improved my business. But the story I will tell is in 2020, I went to family reunion in Dallas. I had 0 deals under contract. When the pandemic hit, like basically 4 exact years ago, I guess I had a couple deals under contract by then, but nothing had closed. My first closing of 2020 was like April 11th, 2020.
Wow.
And I was over $100,000 in debt. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was freaking out just like everyone else. So I moved home with my parents, and like March 30th, I decided on St. Patrick's Day to move home 2 weeks before my 40th birthday. And I closed, a handful of deals that spring that were in the works, paid off almost all my debt. The last one I had was a student loan for like, just over 28,000. A friend who was an attorney texted me like July, 4th of July of 2020, basically saying, hey, I've got like a referral for you. Remember that person that you met at an open house and referred me as a personal injury attorney? That's settling. So I've got your referral check. And the check turned out to be $27,777. So
Wow.
that year, even though I started off with nothing under contract until Q2, I ended up as the #1 individual agent for the KW Mid-American region, and then stayed the #1 agent up until I was #2 last year, which I'm a little upset about, but hey, Corey Barker, he did a great job. So now I have started a team this year because if I can't be #1, just kidding.
Yeah.
But yes. So what I'll get into as we get into the presentation a little bit is what we're going to talk about today is what really took my business from around 24 deals a year to 40 to 50 transactions for every year for the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I want to pause you really fast because all that is such great information. And you are actually such a living proof of you can do anything that you want in 5 years if you get intentional and if you actually focus on it. Because to go from, 2018 to today, where you is like such an incredible journey. And I just think it's so awesome. And I know you've had a lot of other great things. If we have time later, we might have you touch on
We
your
can
health
go
journey.
into it. Yeah,
Touch
I'm
on
an
your
open
health.
book.
Yeah, I know you are. That's why I love it. Touch on your health journey too. But so last year, so you were still fully individual last year, right? Or did you have the team?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
individual.
And then what did you end up, how many did you close last year?
Like around 40, just under 40, and then was about 20 million in,
Yeah.
in volume.
Yeah, alone. That's amazing. Yeah, love that so much. Okay, so before we talk about team, I want to get into well, actually, no, let me ask you that. What really was the deciding factor of you saying, okay, I think I need to get some leverage and start the team?
I I really love marketing and events, and I love helping agents with their marketing too. And so it just became clear that there's so many other people who could do a lot of things better than me. And if I want to spend my time kind of helping agents, then I can't be doing everything on my own anymore. And last year I worked remotely for a total of 12 weeks. This year I'm hoping it's a little bit more. I'm actually going back to Barbados tomorrow for 3 weeks to work remotely from
Nice.
there. So yeah,
Nice.
just, the
Awesome.
impetus was just getting my life back and really trying to focus on what do I enjoy. So I'm going to setting up systems to do all the listing strategy and consultations from like remotely, but I've kind of like Ben Hardy point of no return. I'm not working with buyers anymore. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, I forgot we both have a Ben Hardy love in common.
I talked with him this morning. It was amazing.
No. Just on a call, like you just did a call with him?
I did a challenge with him at the end of last fall. And so he was like offering to meet with people from the challenge. So yeah, it was great.
Wow. Okay. For those of you that maybe don't know, Ben Hardy is the one who wrote one of my favorite books, Be Your Future, Be Your Future Self Now, Your Best Future Self Now. I can't. And then
Yeah.
also 10X is Easier Than 2X with Dan Sullivan, which Linda McKissick was featured in. He's written several other books too. Those are probably, I would say, two most popular lately.
Those are my two favorite as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. He's so smart. Linda and I had him on our podcast and we were just like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was so great. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it, and let's talk about, because so much of your business growth has happened through what you would call your micro events, right?
Yes, exactly.
Are you sharing screen or just talking?
I can share, I have a presentation, so we
Okay,
can, and
great.
this is great. I love the back and forth, so we can
Okay,
interject. Because I
okay.
think, Dana, you're going to love this because it is really about networking and just being super strategic and
Yeah.
bringing in the things that you love to do and your interests, and then kind of building a business around that. So,
Yeah, love it. Love it. Can you share? Is it letting you share?
yes,
Okay, great. Here we go.
I'm
Awesome.
terrible about sharing on Canva. So I just,
I know. I think you have to go to presentation. Well, I don't know. This is fine.
yeah, I'll just kind of scan through. So I kind of alluded to it, but when I switched over to KW, my business really changed because I got super kind of like intentional about treating it as a business. And one of the things that I did very
Wait,
early,
we need to scan that QR code.
I'll send you the handout.
Okay.
You can circulate to everyone, but yeah,
Okay,
if you
that's
want to
great.
scan it.
Okay. Okay.
The handout has 101 micro event ideas. So,
Love it. Okay.
um, so back in 2018, I was working in open house around 4th of July, and a woman walks in. We kind of, one of those clients that you hit it off with right away. We were both wearing like Rothy's shoes. When I did the buyer consultation at her office, we both had like a Longchamp bag. We're now really good friends. We like travel together. Her name is Kari, and she was relocating to Chicago from San Francisco for her job. She works at Google in tech. And so, from San Francisco to Chicago is a great move for me because it's like makes our prices look pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So she was a great client. And I just really loved working with her because she knew what she wanted, but she was still easy to work with, like, successful, just and we had a lot in common. So when I was business planning for the next year, I kind of realized like, in order to get the 30 transactions that I want, I don't have to work with everyone in Chicago. I just need to meet 30 women exactly like Kari. So how
Wow.
do I take like all the networking that I've done as an attorney, I've been to a million networking events. How do I turn these into ways for me to meet women that are single young professionals, work in tech, law, advertising, consulting, have a pretty, typically they're 28 to 34, have a just pretty decent budget, like average price point of 500,000. So I started hosting my own networking events, and they were at kind of like fun places around Chicago, nail events, kind of just different places that I would see on social media and be like, oh, that looks fun. I bet people would want to try that out. So I realized that instead of expanding my reach and trying to help everyone, I just needed to narrow my focus. And that to me was a weight off my shoulders. So, we've all heard go small from Gary. But I think in real estate, it doesn't come naturally to us. We all think we want to help everyone. So this is Seth Godin's, what he calls it, small viable audience. You don't need to help everyone. What's the smallest number of people you can get to reach your goal? So for me, that was 30 women. And does anyone know, pop in the chat, can you guess what company this is? Maybe someone's been on this type of cruise. Any ideas? This one's Viking Cruise. So
I was gonna say, I don't cruise. I'm not
a cruiser either.
No, I didn't know.
I got that. Well, I was at my parents' house and they got this, and I was like, this is the best like marketing ever, because if you fit this like model or not. And so
Yeah.
I actually was teaching this earlier this week, and I was like, their ideal client is Eileen, a 67-year-old woman who does not want to be in a place where there's smoke. Like Vegas, the smoke in the casino just really bothered me. And so and then a guy in the class raised his hand and he was like, my wife's name is Eileen. She's 66 and we are going on a Viking cruise. It was so funny. So, but their marketing is very different from a Disney cruise, whose
Yeah.
website is all geared towards families. Like every branding aspect of it is geared towards families. So Dana, what was the last like ad that you got on social media? Do you remember? Probably earlier today.
Oh God. Oh, sorry. Yes. What ad did I get recently?
Or was there one recently where you were like, oh my God, this is speaking directly to me?
Yes, and you guys are gonna laugh so hard, I can tell you, because I ordered it and I actually love it. But I think my phone might have heard me, you know how sometimes that happens.
Yes.
But I kept getting these ads for these weighted vests that you can exercise or walk in, but it's like a specific petite, like woman size
I
weighted vest.
love it.
And it was crazy because my functional medicine doctor we had just been talking about how I needed to build more like bone density and bone and muscle. And so he said he knew I walked every morning, and so he said, I want you to start walking with a 10-pound weighted vest and get yourself up to 30. And I Amazoned, and I'm like, oh, they're all like huge and bulky and look like I'm like
Yeah.
ready to go fight in a war. And so I kept seeing ads, and I swiped up, and I like love it. It's one of my favorite things that I have now. Oh, Caroline. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. I wonder if that's true. Homes.com, because I've been talking about homes.com on my calls. Wow.
That's funny. Yeah, probably. But,
Wow.
and you're their ideal client. Like I've been getting homes.com too, because we are agents. We want to be in front of. So I think we're someone's ideal client, and we're being sold to all the time. And
Yeah.
so this is not a violation of fair housing to do this. We're not breaking any laws. And I help everyone. So it's not like I turn anyone away if they're not my ideal client.
Right.
I'm creating marketing that's designed to help bring the people that I really love working with to me. And now that I have a team, you know, it's all kind of a similar type of client, but each person on the team kind of has their own, like, the agent has a 4-month-old baby. So hers are moms and, more family oriented than mine might be. So I, I would love for you all, well, we're going to talk through the 5 steps, but the first step is really this concept of going small. So, think back to who your favorite client was over the past couple of years and literally like go super deep. Age, what was their profession? What did they buy? What did you love about working with them? How did you meet them? What did you have in common when you were driving around? What did you talk about? Even like what type of coffee did they drink or activities are they into? So it's really like, how did you meet them is probably the most important, or what did you have in common with them? But Kathy in this picture, she's an MREA, she's built a great business. She was solo for a long time, and she started her business by literally going to the dog park and like being kind of strategic about who she talked to. She would like record the dog names in her phone and like figured out where people lived. So you can, if you love dogs, you can literally build a business around your like love for dogs. So I'd love to hear any examples or and I'll kind of get into the next slide too, but some examples that we can kind of go more into, like alumni from your school. Maybe you're super involved in your alumni. Your church is a great one. People build an entire business just networking within their church. If you're divorced, maybe you're really passionate about helping other single moms. Thinking about though, who needs to move now? Because this is a tough market. We've got a huge pipeline of buyers, but literally like none of them are doing anything because things are expensive. There's multiple offers. So who has some urgency? First time buyers, like if their lease is ending in July, that could be who you're talking to now. So who has like questions on this, or this is like really, to me, a foundational topic about the micro events. So I feel like I would love to help anyone if you're not sure, and you probably have multiple ideal clients. So who has some ideas?
This is such a great list, and I'd be curious if anybody wants to put in the chat, is there already a specific niche that you are working or that you have that you want to go after? Would love to see, because we might be able to spur some ideas for other people too. And if not, that is a really, really great list to start by for sure.
And like your running club, I mean, if you have an interest in something, yesterday someone mentioned that they're really into horses, and so the people from their barn, another guy was like really involved in a kickball team. So it's really like whatever you're already interested in, you can build what we're going to talk about around that. So would love to hear. Anyone? Dana, tennis would be a great one for you.
Yeah, for Adam, not for me. I just like to, I'm having to learn and watch. Yeah, people have started, yeah.
Senior market is great.
Caroline and I just got off of a call, and she was talking about senior market, and I told her the same thing. I think that's so great. Estate planning, yeah, Dennis, so good. Yeah, Sarah has had a lot of success with young couples, similar age, similar lifestyle.
I love it.
Golf, yeah, sport. Those are all super, super good.
These are all awesome. I love it. Okay, so let's continue. So the first thing I would recommend is really just getting strategic about kind of like your social schedule and strategically connecting. So with those school families, how can you become basically like the mayor of that school, where you're the person who everyone knows, not necessarily for real estate, but that you're the go-to person who's always helping out. You're just super involved and you're always willing to like be the room mom, or just help out with whatever you can. I would say for golf, like being known within your friend group as like the person who's always up for golf and who's always gathering people together to go, play a round of golf. With kids, this is super easy. Strategically connecting is just organizing play dates and being that person who's kind of the facilitator of the group. So what I love about this is it's all free. So, and taking kind of like anything that you're already really involved in and just going like as deep as you can into that community. And a great example of this is this woman, Linda Weaver. So in my alumni organization, she has been involved for probably 20 years. I mean, as long as I can remember. And if you need a new job, you reach out to Linda and she'll connect you with someone. She organized like the attorney networking events as well as a bunch of the other ones. She was the organizer of this big like networking breakfast, but literally everyone knows who she is. And I am like, I want to become the Linda Weaver of like my kind of generation within that alumni group. And just it's being known as that person who's just always giving back to the group totally selflessly. Like there really isn't anything in it for her other than being known as a great connector. And I'm sure she gets a lot of like, she's retired now, but you know, at one point she just gets a lot of fulfillment out of it. So
Meg,
just
don't you think too a
yeah,
great way to do to even take this further now is social media? Like I feel like that's how people are building these Facebook groups and communities
yes,
and really
exactly.
pulling their people together in that. And I think
Having a
that makes it
place,
even
yeah.
easier. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I think for like your school, if there's not a Facebook group for the school or for your neighborhood, starting that and being able to just post all the events that are going on and just being a resource, that's awesome. That's a great idea. Um, so once you have, you know, started to go get super involved in whatever group or like community that you're already involved in, I love the idea, and then this is what I've done, is just go super deep with events. So you want to bring those people out of the school or church or you know, alumni group and get them to your events so that you can build your own database. So your goal is to get their data. So I think there's 6 different types of events. We're going to talk about the first 2, which are strategic socializing, which I already talked about a little bit, and micro events. The others all fit in, like they're part of my overall marketing plan. But I think starting small with the things that are like very low cost or free is super easy. So,
And Meg, haven't those been the ones you've had the most impact from too?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because they're all really tapping in and strengthening my database. So it's like most of these are, and I'll talk about the database a little bit at the end, but most of it is geared towards, I would say, kind of like the A and B list within my database. So ways to kind of build that strategic socializing would be just organizing a book club. Again, all these are free. Best place to do them is at your house or, you know, somewhere in your neighborhood, but you're basically being the facilitator. So like thinking back to the Barbie movie, like everyone was going with groups to the Barbie movie. It would have been super easy to text 2 of your friends, hey, I'm thinking of grabbing 6 tickets to go see Barbie on Friday. Do you want to join? Is there anyone else you want to bring? And so the goal is to like get a couple of your friends there, or maybe moms at school or whatever group, and then build your network by having them invite a friend. So what this is tapping into is the power of weak ties. So in there's a book called The Defining Decade, all about how your 20s set you up for the rest of your life. It's a great TED Talk. I think the TED Talk kind of like hits on everything in the book. Her name is Meg Jay. So the TED Talk talks about how all of your relationships don't necessarily come from like your best friends, like your, you know, potential dates, potential job opportunities, and in this case, like potential clients. You already know your best friends. Like my good friends in Chicago, I've known their all other good friends for the past like 15 years. But what I don't know are like their coworkers or you know, they're just kind of like the more acquaintances that they know. So the goal of the strategic socializing is to tap into those acquaintances. So my sister gets in on this, and I'm like, you know, a good example is we organized a historic house walk last year around the holidays. The neighborhood was doing it,
That's
and
a great idea.
it was
Actually,
fun.
I don't know who Cody Butler, you'll like Mandy kind of does that in her neighborhood with those lights around the holidays. There's a couple of people like that is I think that is a killer idea.
It's fun. And this one, like you bought tickets, I think they were 25 or 35 each. But what we did was just texted her friends and said, like, hey, we're grabbing tickets to this. We're gonna have wine and cheese at her house afterward. Like, just come, you know, let's meet up here. We'll do the house walk. We'll come back for wine and cheese. I provided the wine and cheese. So it was, maybe $200, but everyone bought their own ticket. So just, it's like getting creative with how can you, I think after COVID, like I'm used to hanging out with the same people. I kind of do the same thing all the time. Like I need to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit to like just keep meeting new people and like reaching out to the database to do things that I think are fun, but maybe like just reconnecting with them. And also, I mean, I don't want everything to be like, I guess my just natural inclination is like, hey, let's grab drinks. And then, but it's like, I want to do something in addition to that. Like, that's fine, but having it around more of an activity just is a little bit more fun. So,
Quick
um,
question from Caroline, real quick, Meg, on those. Has it been just you, or have you had preferred vendors that also participate, or both?
in the next one, so the next one's Microevents. The preferred vendors are more with Microevents. They'll
Okay.
sponsor those. This is kind of like trying to be more organic,
Yeah.
building relationships.
Yeah. And Cody had a great point. He said it makes it more memorable, and that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll come sometimes, but especially if it's at my house, I don't want it to feel sponsored. So,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, Jill, I think, wait, did you, I think you answered that, but they pay for their own, right? You just provide like the little things. Jill said, are they paying? I think you have on there, they pay on their own for the show.
usually, yes.
Okay.
So, like I'm doing one, my hair's curly today. I usually get it blown out, but I have a blow dry membership and I have like 6 credits right now. So I'm gonna grab a group of like 4 or 5 people and I'll just use the credits for them. But for manicures or something, it's like, hey, I've been thinking of checking out this new place. Any interest in joining? And I think it's really like the way that you position it. And sometimes it feels awkward with clients who aren't like closer friends, but
Mhm.
especially because I host so many events that I do pay for. But I'm starting to see that like if I text them the ticket, like we did a haunted zoo walk over in around Halloween. And I just said, hey, like, I thought it'd be fun to get a group together for this. Like, here's the link to tickets, or I'll grab
Yeah,
tickets. They were $25 each if you want to Venmo me. So
great
um,
idea.
I
I
think you
think
can,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can text when it's just texting a friend and presenting it, like telling them the ticket price.
Yeah. So you're not posting it on Facebook or anything like that. You're just texting the invite specifically to the people that you want that
Correct.
month. Okay.
Yeah. For this especially, I want to keep it small. Like I'm an introvert. I
Yeah.
want small groups. I really like building connection with people. So
Okay.
yeah, this is just sort of like building community essentially. And getting like with those ideal clients, if I am reaching out to my database who fit that category and meeting their friends, like that's how I'm building the like
Mm,
roster of potential ideal clients essentially.
yeah. Okay. One more question on the strategic socializing, then I know you want to move on. Cody asked, are you planning those well ahead of time or as they come up? And that's a great question because some stuff does pop up, I assume, but how are you doing that?
Yeah. These are much more organic. So
Okay.
like they don't take a ton of planning. Like, hey, want to play pickleball? I have not played pickleball, but I feel
Yeah.
like the manicures and stuff are the ones that I do the most. And I just try not to get my nails done by myself. So it's like 2 weeks in advance, like, hey, I'm making an appointment, any interest?
That's
Um,
such a great idea. And you actually, I think, might have been the one that gave us the idea of the blowouts because I get typically just only get blowouts too because I hate to wash and dry my hair. And so we had joined the dry bar in Kentucky, and then we would have extras. And Sarah, actually, I know you're on. We need to get back to that again. I think I probably have a bajillion that we could give to people, but just a way to be able to give value to other people if you're not using them anyway, or
right.
any like that. It's such a great, I mean, at $30 or $40 to somebody in your database like that is great.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And it's like, blow dries are a great one because all the guys can't relate to this, but like, it's something that I do once a week, but most people never do it. Like I've had people when I've invited a small group of people to get a blow dry, they're like, I've never had one before. I'm like, oh, this is my everyday. But to like, same with you, it does save me so much time to be able to sit there on my computer and have someone else do it. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that to the database and to whoever comes, it's a huge treat and they love it. And it's the one that is the blow dry event actually is the one time where I've had someone walk in and she was like, I just was talking to a friend and she needs an agent. So here's her number. So it was like
Wow.
the events are more of a long-term play, but it
Yeah.
does happen that you get a client at one of them. And so the next level up are the micro events. So these are typically 10 to 25 people, I would say. These usually cost around 1,000 to 1,500 each. Some of them are more like 500 total, but like a wreath making, it's 75 a person-ish for the activity itself. So I do get these sponsored. My goal is for my own cost to be less than 500 per event. And these are really geared towards kind of like my A and B list clients. The C list also will get an invite, but that's kind of like if it doesn't fill up. But the goal is like to invite those kind of past clients, everyone in my database that I still want to engage with, and most importantly, have them bring their friends. So what I've found is that the events create such a warm lead that it's my goal is like if someone new is coming to an event, they come to a couple events and then when it's time to buy or sell, they just reach out to us and hopefully aren't interviewing other agents. So but it's much easier for your database or my database to invite a friend to a photo event than it is for me to call someone and say, who do you know that wants to buy or sell real estate? I can text them anytime and just say, who do you know that wants to come to a photo event? But I probably will never call and say, who do you know that wants to buy and sell real estate? So Jordan Fried always says, you're not call reluctant, you're value deficient. And the events are a way of providing, like the only way really that I provide value to my database.
I
So
love that quote. We say it one more time. I've heard it, but I love it so much.
yes, you're not call reluctant, you're value deficient. So that's why I put so many events on the calendar, is so that I constantly have something to be reaching out to people. And it's also a little bit of like accountability for me. If I pick a date a few weeks from now and put something on the calendar, I actually have a paint your own pottery event on April 11th. And that's holding me accountable to reaching out to my database, that in a way that I probably like, I'm going to be working remotely. I'm sure find an excuse not to be texting people, but because I don't want to pay for that event and not have anyone come, I'm going to sit down and like work my way through and invite people. So, I'll check the chat anyway. Okay. How are
Just
you
got, yeah.
capturing their information? So this,
I assume he's asking about like if they bring a friend. So, because you're
yeah,
already going to have the people's info that you invited, right? But you asked them to bring a friend.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. So for every event, for the micro events, it's all on Eventbrite. So Eventbrite has changed their policies. It's only free up to 25 people now. So I'm looking at other systems, but I still like Eventbrite. And the default setting is just name and email, but there are additional settings, a little bit varied, that you can collect phone number and really whatever information you want. You can add custom questions. So I always ask for like all, pieces of context. So it's like name, email, phone number, home address. So even for the people in my database, they have to sign up. So then I can update their contact info or whatever. And then I set it so you can only buy one ticket. So they have to forward it on to their friends. So the friend has to register ahead of time.
That's a great idea. I've never thought of that. That's a great idea.
Because I don't want people to just double register. And then they're really encouraged to bring a friend, but I think the Eventbrite just helps like what I told the group yesterday, because this question came up as well, is you could easily do this on a Google form. To me, it feels a little bit longer to be entering all your info on a Google form. I don't know like Eventbrite just auto populates, but I feel like to the consumer, it doesn't feel as like intrusive to be entering your home address into Eventbrite. So that's why I've been sticking with it. Any other
Yep.
questions on this?
Carrie asked, how do you categorize the expenses for the events for your taxes? Great question.
That is a great question. They all go into client events. I actually have since kind of like started a separate, like full bank account, and it's all in one, like all the
Right.
marketing and events is coming out of one account. But that's big. What I did until about a year or two ago, and I think when you're just starting out, this is much easier, is assigning, let me see if there's any other photos. Okay. I was looking for a specific photo that's not in this presentation, but so I would assign different vendors, different expenses. So the kid musician is a great like example. So the kid musician costs about $400. It's like 45 minutes on a Sunday morning, but I usually have some sort of donuts or coffee and snacks, and it's at a park, which is free. So the free venue really helps a lot. So with all of these, the goal is like, I don't want to pay for a venue, so it's hosted at my office, park, a boutique where, you know, they let us use the space for free. So no cost for the venue. For a musician or a photography class, like there's just the one person that will have to pay, and then some sort of food or snack. So I try to assign sponsors to pay that cost directly. So if it's a photographer event, the lender can pay the photographer, the title company or attorney can organize the food and figure it out. So the photo I was looking for the kids' music class has the musician and a donut truck. So for that one, the lender, I just told him like, hey, I'm doing a kids musician on Sunday, April 14th, and, you know, would love to have some sort of food truck there. Can you figure that out? And he found the donut truck. He paid for it. I have no idea what it even cost. I think it was actually kind of like $1,000, but whatever. And the musician was like $400. The attorney paid for that. So if you can get them to pay the cost directly, you're not really going to have a ton of extra costs on top of that.
Yeah, that's super smart. We actually do that for our market center events and stuff too. Like, because it just cuts down on a lot of,
I don't want to be the middleman.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've started doing more like, you know, I pay up front and then charge them now that I have it all in kind of a separate account. But yeah, that I would definitely like, it's much easier to just, and they can figure it out. Like if you are working with a great lender who knows, I look for vendor partners that like totally understand event life. Like there's this one woman, Emma, that I work with a lot. She's a lender. She's doing these exact type of events for agents. Like often we'll do one for my database because I've planned it. And then she like 3 weeks later will just do it for agents. And great. Like I don't, you know, nope. I don't mind that at all. And she gets how to like plan it, and her team will help plan events if you need that. So here's the basic, like I try to make these events as simple as possible. I don't do any swag. I don't do any decorations. I choose venues that are already like cute to begin with. Because if it's too complicated, then it's not worth it. I like, it's easy for me to become an event planner, but I've had to like take a step back and just remember like, this is all about the touches to the database. The event is the thing of value, and they don't need an additional koozie or anything on top of that. So I keep them, especially for a photo event, like though that's a huge value in itself. So whatever you're doing, like the activity is the value, I think.
And Meg, I'm glad you said that because if it's too complicated, no one on this call is going to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, we
exactly.
naturally, if it's too complicated, we're not going to do it. So, and most of us are, you know, that's just that's your profile. So I
Yeah.
like making it just as simple and easy as possible.
Well, and we are trying to put together a terrarium event for April or May, and the you know, now I have someone who's helping me with these events. And she was like, oh, they haven't called me back yet. I was like, on to the next. Like if it takes more than 1 or 2 phone calls to connect with someone, they're not going to be the right fit. So, you know, I would say, and we can do, I thought there was a slide on here, but maybe not. So my challenge to you right now is to write down 5 people that are in your kind of like who are your raving fans. So if you texted them today and said, hey, I'm putting together a golf event 2 weeks from now, who would be kind of the first people that you would reach out to? So write down kind of like favorite past clients. Maybe it's your brother or sister or your spouse who kind of like helps organize everyone, but who would be those initial people that if you were hosting like a 10 to 15 person event that you'd want them there and you know they'd be excited about it and they'd like invite all their friends, which is perfect. So write down those names and then pick a date about a month from now, like maybe 5 weeks from now. I know April 11th is a Thursday, so maybe the following Thursday, April 18th. I like Wednesday, Thursday, or maybe Sundays, depending on what your schedule is. But pick a date like a few weeks from now and just go with it. And then what's an activity that you know that those 5 people have been like wanting to try, something new in the neighborhood, something that, you know, maybe you've seen on Instagram that you're like, oh, you know, that just opened a few weeks ago. One in ours that someone just texted me about is an indoor dog playground. So we're going to be doing an event there sometime in May. What's something new, maybe even a new wine bar, just like something new in your neighborhood that you've been wanting to check out. So write that down. And that literally is your first event. Like it doesn't need to be complicated. And you could text those 5 people today. You could set that date. You could reach out to that venue and you've planned your first event.
Meg, would you say that for those people that they wrote down names of too, like they would describe them as they are the realtor, not a realtor to them?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. I love that. And I think just I've gotten like my good friends and family in on this. They know that like the way that they can help support my business is by inviting people to the events. So I think you can explain that to your good friends. It's like, and people bring, even not like outside of that, like my good clients, when they bring someone, they're texting me on the side, like, hey, I think she's going to buy or sell in the next year. So like people get it, but they like that they're bringing someone to an event that doesn't feel salesy and doesn't feel like they're being pressured to do anything.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Jill asked a question that I kind of thought earlier. Wouldn't they assume that since you're organizing and inviting that you're paying for it? Have you ever had that happen?
On the strategic socializing, I haven't, but I try to text saying like, here's the price of tickets. So I don't think like, it depends on who it is. Like for something with a nail thing, I don't like if you're meeting up with a friend for drinks, I don't think that they automatically assume that you're buying. I mean, past clients do, and that's where it gets hard. I definitely realize that, but my goal for these is to like transition it a little bit more into the friend category where like with your friends, you don't expect them to pick up the check when you meet them for a manicure or something.
Yeah. Oh, great question from Jonathan. Are you passing out any flyers, cards, or anything at the events? I know you said no swag, but anything like that?
I do have, it's just this tiny little postcard, meet the team. I think the fortune is in the follow-up. So they, after the event, get a thank you. And anyone who was not already in the database then gets added into like the marketing kind of machine. So they start to see, and introduce myself at the events and I say, hey, I'm Meg Daday with Heyday Homes, a division of Keller Williams. I just really love supporting other women, local women-owned businesses and bringing people together to form community. So, thank you for being here. And I keep it super short. I don't really do a market update or anything like that because it always comes up if I'm talking with people on the side, how's business? So I just leave it like I'm supporting the local community.
Love that. Yeah, love it.
This is how I'm doing a big database project. So I'm reorganizing my database around events and realized that there's a huge section of my database that just doesn't even live in Chicago, but I don't want to take them out. So we've categorized it into like SOI local, SOI out of town, and then D list, don't ever want to work with again. And
We all have those.
exactly. But like you can't take them off, but I mean you could.
Gary says not to take them off until 6 months after they're dead. So still leaving them on there, but yeah.
D or dead. So the only if they're tagged in SOI local or D list, that's the only tag that they get. Like SOI local or the SOI out of town SOI out of town or D list, that's the only tag they get. SOI out of town might get holiday cards, they might get mailers, but I'm not like paying, they're getting free emails probably twice a month. That's it. All of my attention is going to this SOI local, which is basically like your Met database. So that's A list, B list, which are like past clients who just haven't done much. And then C list is everyone who attended an event or an open house within the last like 12 months, basically. And then Command can do advanced filters, which is a feature I really love. So I can tag them as city, women, and attorney and be able to pull a list, or on other ones that I didn't include on here, but like, do they have a dog? Do they live in the city or suburbs? So you could tag them by neighborhood. So if I wanted to invite someone to a kid event in the suburbs, I'd pull the list of kid and suburbs and have, just those people be invited to that event. So I really love that feature of Command. And it's really helping with kind of like knowing who's coming to the events. So here's a basic 90-day touch plan around events. So I know a lot of this can sound super overwhelming. I think that the strategic socializing can easily be done. And as we said before, like it doesn't have to take a ton of planning. So you could still do that in March. You could get a micro event on the books for like that mid-April range. And then another kind of like targeted micro event for later in like May-ish. And then maybe work up to a larger partner event. So my business has really been built on like trying to get as consistent as possible with the events and the emails. And those are the primary way. I'm really not reaching out to my database at all beyond those two things. So they're getting texts about the events and they're getting emails about the events and just like database newsletters. But that's how I'm building my business. So yeah.
Quick thing I want to say on that too. I'm doing a lot of top 10% one-on-ones this week for my market centers, and touch is one of the things we've talked about. And I know in Gary's top 200 group, which I think you're still a part of that, their touches are like 200 plus. And sometimes when agents hear that, they're like, holy crap, how could I touch my database that many times? When the reality is that when you're doing these events, look how many times you're touching just for an event. So, I mean, that's how your touches add up quick. And you can get to 150, 200 touches annually because the events provide such a great way to have all of those touches. You hope they show up, but whether they show up or not, you still touched them and they're still hearing from you.
Exactly. And I think part of what I've been doing in terms of database math is like, we know from MREA too that 6% of your database is going to transact. So I want to get that SOI local database to like 1,000 people and focus all of my time and energy on them to get to the 60 units that we want to do this year. So that's been a big reason behind my database project is like, let's weed out all the people that we don't care about that aren't going to really do anything and focus on those A, B, and C lists and try and move the C up to B, move the B up to A. And I think if you're like doing touches to even just those top 200 people in your database around micro events, I mean, I would say that's where most of my business, I should go back and look at this because yeah, I think all of the referrals are basically from those kind of like top 1 or 200 people.
Yeah,
So
that's great. That's really how it should be.
yeah. And it's so much more fun that way.
Yeah.
Like, I thought of you last night. The event that I hosted this was in partnership with a community, a girl who started this group that is made to like help people meet. You know, she organizes singles events, but we've
Wow.
worked together to organize like friendship events. And it was at this skincare place. So people like made their own face masks. It was
Oh,
so much fun. It was awesome.
I would
So
love that one.
yeah, it's like I just go to these fun events. It's great. But you can do that too, but with golf or kid activities.
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day, as you can see. These are the events that I am doing. Like a lot of these stay the same from year to year. And I know this looks overwhelming too, but keep in mind, this is like kind of like for suburbs and city. So it's almost 2 markets, but I would try for 6 to 8 micro events. And that's basically it. Like,
Love it. That we go back to the top one, or the one right oh, sorry.
no,
The
yeah, let me go back.
what you're doing for this year. Then we'll
Yeah.
answer Jill's question. If anybody has any question, there we go. Okay. So 8 events for women in the city, 4 events for suburban women, 3 events for city families, and 3 events for, and I love this too, because I just had this conversation yesterday with somebody. You almost have to hit all like people with kids, people without kids, people that are married, people that aren't married, people that are older and they're older, people that are younger. Like you're doing a great job of that, because I joked, and for years this was like years ago, but we just had our big Christmas cookies and pictures with Santa event. And then I realized all my clients and friends that didn't have kids weren't coming. So, I mean,
Yes.
we weren't even getting to see them. So you almost kind of have to, it does look a little overwhelming, yet if you just are intentional with the planning and know that you're hitting everybody, I love that. I think that is
Well,
so
it
intentional.
goes to my 2 ideal clients. I forgot to mention, like, so now, yes, my 1 ideal client is professional single women that are first-time homebuyers, and they're typically like single or engaged, but then those are like around 30, because that's the time kind of everyone gets engaged or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people, whatever, not me. But then there's the whole like people who are my age who have kids. That same woman 8 years later now has, you know, to sell that first condo, move up to a single family home. So I have the 2 ideal clients that I have are, you know, those first time home buyers and upsizing families. But the thing they have in common is that one woman, just different ages. So all of the events are pretty much geared towards that woman at whatever stage of life she's in. So it really all comes back to the ideal client and knowing who that person is.
Yeah, love that. Okay, Jill says, I have 16 years worth of random open houses, Zillow leads, etc. What would you do with all of those? Great question.
Those are my D list.
Yeah, okay.
I would invite them to events. I mean, but I would focus on the, you know, A and B list.
Yeah.
And for me, my C list are people who've come to events within the last couple of years because they were invited by a friend. But yeah, going back through the database this year and looking at all those old open house contacts, I'm like, why did I bother looking? I looked up their addresses in White Pages Premium and wrote them. And I'm like, they came to an open house in 2017. They're not living at this address anymore. So, I'm not
focusing on
much.
your A's and B's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then are you willing to share the slides?
Yes, well, I'll share, I think what is just better is I'll share a handout that's 4 pages that has the 100 micro event ideas and kind of like tips to find your ideal client.
Okay, if you can send that to me, I'll make sure that we send it in our follow-up email with the recording when we do that.
Awesome.
Also, love it so much. Okay, I know we have 3 minutes left, and I know you're passionate about that. If anybody has any questions, type it in the chat. But before we hop off really fast, I just know you're passionate about this, so I just want to like 3 minutes touch on it because I know you had a big life change, and it could always help somebody else. So in 3 minutes, will you give them the skinny on it?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. A year ago, I realized I wasn't hitting my goals and wasn't kind of like able to get up in the morning, do what I needed to do. And when I looked back, it was all because of my nighttime habit. So, which was basically like drinking wine, watching TV way too late, just not prioritizing sleep and health. And so I stopped drinking on January 1st, 2023. And it's been amazing. I feel like I told Ben Hardy this morning, it's like it changed my entire identity because I was always that person. Like at family reunion, I would have been out late, hanging out, just doing whatever. And now this year I was in the gym at like 6 a.m. every time. So which I had to kind of like, I say that I kind of just closed kind of thanked alcohol for its service essentially, and decided that, that just, it wasn't helping me reach my goals. And I, I kind of realized 3 weeks into dry January that that chapter had closed, and the benefits that I saw right away, and because I was so committed to it, I think, and I was reading, I mean, I need to like prepare my thought, like organize my thoughts a little bit more on this, but I was reading Be Your Future Self Now at the time. And what I came to realize was, as I wrote like a letter to my 10-year self, it's all about being a fun aunt and providing amazing experiences for my nieces and nephews, and working remotely and being able to, hike and bike outside, and building a business that I'm really proud of. And when I looked at that letter, there was like wine didn't appear anywhere in it, and like staying out late wasn't a part of that. And it just helped me realize like how much I was kind of like relying on that for socialization. And now that I've been able to take a step back, my relationships have gotten so much stronger. I truly like know what I want now. And yeah, it's just been much easier than I ever thought it could be. So yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Super proud of you. I love it. Okay, if they want to learn more about that or you or anything, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Meg? And thank you so much for this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Meg Chicago on Instagram is probably the best way.
It's
And
great social media. You guys all need to go follow her for sure.
yeah, it's just at Meg Chicago. And then my team Instagram is just heyday.home stuff. That's probably easiest, but I'm always happy to, help, especially with just brainstorming around events, figuring out who your ideal clients are, because I know, we all want to help everyone and to build our businesses, but I think going small is really the key.
Yep. Love it. Awesome. You gave tons of value. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and your friendship. Let me know how I can repay it for you. And I can't wait to hear what all you guys implement from this.
I
So
cannot wait to hear. Yes, please let me know if
great.
when you implement.
Sarah wants to come to Chicago so she can go to your events. So
Dana,
awesome.
we'll have to do like a agent event, micro event at
Yeah.
some point. So,
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely.
all
Well, thank
right.
you so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful rest
Bye.
of your week. See ya.